Deborah, thank you so much for meeting me today. When we posted on Mumsnet that we'd be speaking to you, we got loads of questions and I'm really excited to hear your answers. So let's kick off. First question from Dustland Fairy Tale Beginning. When you were starting out in your career, did you have any unusual jobs?
Oh gosh, that was a long time ago. Okay, this is really early on, but I used to help with the donkey rides on Minehead seafront.
Amazing.
Yes, but my payment wasn't money.
Oh.
It was I got to ride the donkeys back to their field.
Oh.
So that was my first lesson, and that reward doesn't always have to be cash. It can be something you really, really enjoy. So yeah, donkey rides.
Nice, that's a great first job. What's a belief about business success that you once held very strongly, but experience later proved completely wrong?
Well, I think, and it's a myth I hear quite often, particularly with businesses that I invest in. People think that hard work, the longer hours you work, and putting absolutely everything into it, that's going to bring success. Well, it is true that when you start a business, you've got to give it whatever it needs. You give it its energy, you give it its life, you give it its reason to be, but hard work isn't actually the thing that does it. You've got to be strategic. You've got to know where you're going, and actually, really, really, really important. You've got to know when you can take your foot off the accelerator for you, because it's like an athlete. You don't keep yourself at peak fitness at all times. If you've got the Olympics coming, when I've actually got to have some downtime. Well, when you're in business, you've got to make sure that you've got the energy there when you need it. So I think it's really important that hard work doesn't always do it. You need to be strategic. You need to think about it. You need to give yourself time and fill up your energy, fill up your battery.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversation about burnout, especially for women in business, but also in parenting. Have you ever experienced burnout? And I think that's what you're talking about, right? Making sure that you're looking after yourself so that you don't get to the point where you've got nothing in the tank to give.
Yeah, and I think women are really not very good at that.
Yeah.
And I think part of the issue, and this I feel really passionate about this, part of the issue is even when women give themselves downtime, they feel guilt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's guilt is there's no point in downtime with guilt, because actually you're still kind of stressed about the fact that I'm over here and I should be over there, and women have always got more to do than they possibly can.
Yeah.
So I think actually one of my key skills is to be really precious over my downtime, and that's it. I'm walking the dogs tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I'm not Charlotte, keep my diary clear until 11 o'clock, because I absolutely know it.
Yeah.
But that isn't the point. The point is I do it guilt-free. And I do it guilt-free because I know it's going to make me better at the thing that I do. So I don't think I say I haven't experienced burnout. I've definitely had moments when you've got deals going on and you're working and then afterwards you think, I didn't know how tense I was. It didn't know how. Absolutely. But I've never reached a stage where I haven't loved the thing that I've done. And I think the real tragedy of burnout is that it can turn this thing that you love doing into a thing that you hate doing. Because you just don't feel good about it anymore.
Yeah, that's really good. Another question from this user is called Sin1Up. As a woman who's seen many changes, do you believe that things are easier for women to navigate now than they used to be?
Well, I say definitely over my career, it has got easier. It doesn't make it easy, but it has got better for women.
Yeah.
But there's still a long way to go, to be perfectly honest. There are more examples of women. I think that is helping knock down the barriers, but it doesn't mean to say, oh, we're there, that's fine, everything's fine, isn't it? Because it's not. And it's also different in different industries, I think.
I think you're right about examples, and I think if people can see women in business scenarios, and I think what you're doing even on Dragon's Den, I'm sure that's just it is the tip of the iceberg of what you're doing, but it's visible. It's women investing with confidence and knowledge. And that's so powerful for the younger generation of girls in school and teenagers seeing you and other people like you acting in that space and taking up the space that you rightly deserve. I think it's amazing.
I shamefully was the only woman in Dragon's Den for 7 years.
Crazy. Yeah.
shameful,
Yeah,
really.
it is.
You know, it's and people used to say to me, "Where are the other women in business?" I said, "Well, I see them all day, every day. They're there. Trust me, very smart women." But I also think there's a slight difference. I think women can also be a little bit reticent about putting themselves forward.
Yeah.
And it is true, you know, certainly when I first started on Dragon's Den, I got a lot of flack because I was the only woman. And I think even if I said the same thing as Duncan, because I was a woman and saying it was a bit, whoa, what's she doing? So, and that, I think we've definitely moved on from that.
Yeah.
So I have watched definitely a progression, but no, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
And we need to help each other get there. That's the point.
Right.
You know, we need to support each
help
other.
each other and support each other and not bring each other down.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm going to add something else there, and it isn't just me sitting in the chair. If you see the amount of female entrepreneurs, you know, that's changed the Dragon's Den as well.
You're right. It totally has.
A lot more women starting their own business.
Women doing those presentations rather than men.
Absolutely, yeah. So the side definitely seen a change for the better.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Dragon's Den.
Are you? Oh, excellent. I'm a huge fan of Dragon's Den too, so excellent.
So about your new book, we're very excited to hear about your new book here.
My new book, Talks Money.
Deborah Meaden Talks Money. What inspired you to write a book about money for teenagers?
Well, so I was staggered to learn that actually children start their money they form their money habits as young as 6 or 7.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I thought, oh my goodness, it's missing off the school curriculum. And I am a great believer, the earlier you can get familiarity with the, you know, exercise and the pitfalls of money, the better. So I wrote the first book. Well, I thought it was going to be my book. I thought that was it. The book. And I wrote that. And then, of course, as soon as I'd written that, everybody was saying, oh yeah, but my teenage daughter needs that as well. Yeah. But it also struck me that whilst it's very important, I think, to embed that knowledge at an early age, this age group, which is sort of 11 to 16, they're actually starting to experience money. So the first book, Why Money Matters, was all about, you know, money's more interesting than you think, and it's what makes the world go round, and these are the fun things you can do, and that's what interest is. This is practical tips. This is a book that I really would love people to buy and leave on their shelf. It gives them enough knowledge to say, I need to know that. And because you don't need to be an expert in insurance, for example, but you do need to understand how it works. So that's what I want that book to be. I want that to be raise the awareness, and so people think, okay, I know something about that, and then they can go back to this book and think, that's what I need to do.
What advice do you have for teenagers considering university?
So I think university is for a lot of people, and it's not for everyone. I didn't go to university. I left school when I was 16. Couldn't wait to leave. Yeah, I left school at 16. Didn't go to uni. You've got to understand your reason for university. So I think you've got to pause and think, why am I doing this? Is it because I want to go into a career that is going to definitely need for me to get degrees? You know, am I going to be a doctor, or am I going to be a surgeon, or am I going to need my degree? Am I just keen on learning? And it could even be, I don't know what to do with my life yet. So I want to experience more things and meet more people and have more opportunity. But it could also equally be that actually I don't really want to go to university. I want to get started with a business, or I want to have an apprenticeship, or I want to learn more that way. So I think people need to understand why they've made the choice.
Why they're doing it.
Yeah, why they're doing it.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. This is a question from Wellington. My nieces are just starting to learn about money. What do you think is the most important message we should be teaching kids about money from a young age?
Right, so money, this is a hard one to get, I think, young people to get their minds wrapped around. Money has no value until you give it value. So if I have £10 and I choose to spend it on something that gives me momentary gratification and then it's gone, I've kind of devalued that money. Because if I had taken that £10 and spent it on something that added long-term value to my life, I've given it possibly a greater value than the £10.
Wow.
So it's the value you give that money.
I wish I knew that.
Well, it's great. It's kind of it didn't dawn on me until later.
Yeah,
I just thought if I waste it, I've made it worth nothing.
Yeah.
But if I've actually invested it, it's how you use it. Yeah.
That's really good advice. This is a question from Regina's Protein Bar. What advice would you give to young girls who want to be entrepreneurs?
The first thing I would say is know why you want to be an entrepreneur, because a lot of people think they just want to get rich, they want to make money, but there's a long way between starting a business and getting there. So, would it suit you? Are you a risk taker? Are you in a position to take those risks? Have you got something that you're really passionate about? So I think understand why you want to do it, and then get going. But never think of yourself as a woman starting a business. My customers don't care whether
No, of course not.
they don't care how old I am, they don't care what gender I am, they don't care anything about me. What they care about is, do they like the product or the service that I'm providing.
So this is from a more positive mum. As an investor, do you think that the word cottage industry is a poison chalice and won't get investment as people think it can't get big enough? Also, tell her she's my favourite dragon.
I'm definitely answering that question. Yeah. So what was it? What was her name?
More positive mum.
More positive mum. More positive mum. You're my favourite more positive mum. So, cottage industry actually can imply that it's not that the business can't get bigger. It can imply that the person doesn't want the business to get bigger. And usually investors are looking for growth. They're usually looking, well, if I put my money in now, how big will the business grow and what point will I exit? So I think it's a very descriptive word of some styles of businesses. But we shouldn't call small businesses cottage businesses, because those businesses might well, either under your stewardship or the next person, if you sell it, they could get bigger. So I don't think we should limit it.
All right, how much money is enough, and why do millionaires keep going after more?
Oh, so that's a really good one. Do you know, I actually asked that. I say that
Are
to
you
people.
Andy Ski?
No. Yeah, actually most of those are my questions. No, I ask people how much is enough. How much is enough? Because there is only so much we can eat, there's only so much we can do, and after a while, this is going to sound really crass, because I have to say at the beginning, for me, of course it was about the money. I didn't have money, and I wanted to build the life that I wanted to build, but I focused on that. I focused on the business, and I didn't want to be rich. I wanted to build the life that I wanted to live. And I wanted to be able to do those things without worry. So, how much is enough?
Just a little bit more, in the words.
That's the issue. Just a little bit more, But I would also say, how much is too much?
Yeah.
And I would say that on many counts. In business, funny enough, I was just with one of my investments, and I said one of the advantages they have had is that they didn't have a lot of money to start. And that forced them into learning a lot about the business and being really clever with the money, being really careful with their money. Actually, if you have too much money, you can get a little bit frivolous with it, and you really don't appreciate it. You buy stuff and it's nothing, I think everybody should have something they can't afford. Everybody should have something. I don't care how rich you are, you should have something you can't afford and you really want.
Right, I see.
Because it keeps you valuing things. Because if you can just buy stuff, it's just worthless, isn't it? It doesn't mean anything anymore.
It leads on to this next question, where one user asked, do you think there is any harm in individuals amounting massive amounts of wealth? And where is the line?
So my answer to that would be, it depends what you do with it. Because actually, if you look, it's not just through history. If you look now, there's a lot of really good work being done that wouldn't necessarily be done by governments, by people who want to change the world for the better. So I think it's always down to good players and good actors and bad actors. Good actors, money is not evil if you give it good. If you use it for the right things, if you use it to make the changes you want to see in the world for the better, that's a great way. It kind of doesn't matter where that money comes from, because it's improving the world. But then you also get bad actors, and you just think, what was the point of that? You're not contributing to society. That money isn't helping anybody else, and I just kind of feel that would be a really empty thing to do. But I do worry, just so you know, I think that the massive concentration of wealth that is happening at the moment, I think that's a very dangerous thing, because with that is a massive concentration of power.
And it's very difficult to hold those people to account.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
So I think, I'm talking about sort of the millions and as
Yeah.
opposed to these
The
big billion or trillionaire as we now have.
Yeah.
I think that's a very dangerous place to be.
Here's a question from For the Love of Penguins. I really worry about the future of our planet. We have done a few things like getting solar panels and electric cars. We tried to cut down on laundry and cleaning products for single-use plastic. What other changes can we make? And are there some products you would recommend that we might not even realise have plastic in them?
One of the things I would say is do look at diet. Do look at the things you're eating. I'm not asking you, I happen to be plant-based, I'm vegan, and I'm not asking anybody else to be that, but do look at diet, because the meat industry has got a massive impact. And that, I think David Attenborough said, that is the biggest change we could all make. And that doesn't mean to say stop, but just think carefully, maybe reduce.
Yeah.
So I think definitely look at diet. Plastics, I think it's interesting to me because even people who understand plastic tubs or plastic bottles or things that are obviously plastic don't think about the garments they're wearing. Yeah, and there's a lot of plastic, microplastics, certainly in fleeces. Every single fleece that's made of microplastics.
Yeah.
And actually what you can do about that, you can wash it on cooler washes. If you wash it on cold washes, it sheds less of the microplastics, and wash it less. We're all a little bit, where wash. I am surprised, I can't believe I'm going to tell you this, but I'm surprisingly mucky when I'm at home. I don't feel the need.
It's good for the environment.
It's good for me too. It's good for my biome. I think we all need to learn to be a little bit muckier at times. That's going to be the thing everybody remembers of me now.
Top advice. I love it. I'm there for it. Reduce the laundry loads of thousands of people across the UK.
Exactly.
Wash less. Wash your clothes less.
Yes, wash your clothes less. Yes, let's be clear.
Do you think that the need for companies to make profit can be fully compatible with environmental responsibility and overall sustainability? As an example, what are your thoughts on switching manufacturer or source materials away from the UK, if that's where the business currently does these things, to somewhere cheaper but with comparatively lower work rights or environmental protections?
So I think definitely businesses, and some of the business I'm invested in are founded on ethics. The business I was just with, founded because they're in an industry that they felt was just not paying any attention to the workers' rights and the sustainability. So absolutely businesses can. It's easier for new businesses because they don't have legacy. They don't have to change all of those systems. I think when you make your decisions in business, we have a set of filters, and as long as you put nature and sustainability at the top, then decisions like China, that they happen very early on. You think, well, actually, no, we're not going to do that because it's the wrong thing. But it isn't as simple as saying we'll make everything in the UK, we won't make it in China, for example, because actually it can be more sustainable if the product is over in China. So if the raw materials, if the plants that you're making something out of are actually over there, then it can be more sustainable than bringing the plant here, or the same level of sustainability. So it's never quite as simple as it looks.
One Mumsnet user had a question following your recent Twitter exchange on free speech, where women shared experiences of expensive legal battles after workplace backlash for gender critical views. Even when they ultimately won, the personal cost was really high. Do you think those experiences discourage other women from speaking openly?
So it's interesting because it does two things. I think it can discourage people from coming forward because they can see an example of what can happen. But it can also encourage people coming forward because they can see other people are experiencing the same things that they are. But I think one of our tools, one of the most powerful tools we've got is talking about things. I think too often, it's not just women to be fair, too often people walk into workplaces where there's a whole set of rules, unwritten rules that everybody seems to know but you, and things happen which are not right. And it's not just women, people find it very difficult to go against what is perceived as the norm. And I think one of our most powerful is something that I've always done. If I see it, I say it. I know I sound like an advert for British Rail now because that's what it said. It will. Well, hopefully, exactly. I think that's my new mantra. We have to talk about it.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to Am I Being Unreasonable? Quick fire round.
Oh.
Okay. So I don't know how much you know about Mumsnet, We have a very active forum on our website called Am I Being Unreasonable, where people bring their tricky situations and the internet weighs in. So today we would like you to weigh in on some thorny AIBU questions. So here we go. This is one from Dandy Reader. Am I being unreasonable to not buy a £1,000 present for my husband? We usually buy each other experiences for birthdays, but my husband's turning 30 and asked for a proper gift this year. He's been hinting for ages about wanting a nice watch and has shown me several examples. He could buy one himself, but he says it's a splurge that he can't justify, so I think he's hoping I will. I can afford it, but I don't want to. I'm trying to stick to my savings goals and I don't want to set a precedent. Am I being unreasonable not to buy him a £1,000 watch?
I don't want to answer these. It feels like I'm getting in the middle of an argument between a husband and wife. I can't answer that. Can I?
She's asked the internet, and the internet is asking you, Deborah Meaden, she's asking, is she unreasonable not to buy him? She doesn't want to buy him the £1,000.
So this is the thing. She doesn't want to buy it for him.
Yeah.
Then she shouldn't do it. There's something stopping her.
There's a reason.
There's a reason.
Yeah. So she's not being unreasonable.
Not being unreasonable.
All right, next one.
If my husband finds out, I never said that.
She's being unreasonable. It depends. Deborah said I didn't have to buy you a Get him a Casio. Okay, this is from Big Knickers size 18. I'm listening to Scott Mills and he has Harriet Tyson talking about the traitors like it's Operation Mincemeat. It's a TV game show, not life or death. I watched it a few years ago and wasn't fussed. It just feels like another vehicle for people to be famous. Am I being unreasonable to not get the traitors?
I think it's entirely up to you, but I do think you're being unreasonable because I think it's brilliant.
You love it?
So that's my version of unreasonable, yes.
Yes, you are being unreasonable,
Yes.
Big Knickers size 18. Sorry, Deborah has
Absolutely.
announced. All right. I lock the bathroom door when I shower or use the toilet because I like privacy. My husband says this isn't normal, that he should be able to come and go, for example, to brush his teeth while I'm in the shower. I don't think it's a big deal that I want 10 minutes of privacy. He can brush his teeth before or after. I feel like this should be my choice. Am I being unreasonable to lock the bathroom door?
Absolutely not. I am absolutely 100% with you. Nobody interrupts me when I'm in the bath.
Oh,
absolutely not. That is very reasonable. In fact, that should be a law.
Write it down. My daughter is 18 and in college. She has a car and earns good money from a part-time bar job, but she spends every penny and ignores any advice about saving. A few weeks ago, her car skidded in an icy college car park and caused £600 of damage to another car. She now wants me to loan her the money so she doesn't have to go through insurance because she doesn't have any savings. If she was more sensible with money, I'd help, but I'm so exasperated that I want to say no and make her figure it out herself, in the hope she'll finally learn to save. Am I being unreasonable not to bail her out this time?
I don't think you're bailing her out. I think she's asked you to lend her the money.
True.
So I think that, I think you're being unreasonable. I think as long as she pays the money back and as long as you're strict about that, I think lending the money, that's if you've got it, of course.
Two friends going on a holiday. Should the person who earns more pay more for the holiday? Say 75% of the holiday cost. Neither person is wealthy, but one is part-time and the other is full-time, so earns more.
So I'll tell you what we do. I've got long-term friends and my friends are from all walks of life and they're all levels of income. And when we go out together, we all pay equally. Because I don't think it's just about you. I think sometimes people can feel slightly beholden if you offer to pay for everything or I think it's probably safer just to split it.
Yeah, fair. All right, next one. My husband is obsessed with penguins. The biscuit, not the bird.
Oh, okay.
He always has been. He says every British household has a packet of penguins, just as his grandparents did 30 years ago. Next week we're having a party for our granddaughter and my husband wants a plate of penguins arranged on a plate for the buffet. I think this is tacky as hell. He thinks I'm a snob. Am I being unreasonable?
Well, I happen to love, I mean, I'm vegan, I can't eat them now, but I happen to love penguins. I'm
You
sorry,
love
I'm with you.
penguins?
I absolutely love penguins.
Aw.
They're not even chocolate, are they?
No.
Haven't they actually been pronounced as not chocolate? So, so no, I'm sorry, I'm with your husband there.
It's a guilty
No,
pleasure.
yeah,
love penguins.
absolutely.